Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience and their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's Libsyn, ads.com today.
And we're still living on the poverty borderline.
61% of the people in America say they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Our daughter doesn't even have health care.
I just never thought I would be living this life.
We're paying people not to work. These guys are working 4 jobs, making $1,000 more than these people who aren't working at all.
It's honestly a slap in the face.
Is it just me, or is the system turned on its head? You know, I believe America at its core was founded on the principles of meritocracy, a merit-based system where those who work hard, have talent, and add value are rewarded. And those who don't, well, they aren't. Simple, value in, value out. But after 200 plus years, that common sense system is under attack at almost every turn in our society. These days, instead of celebrating skill and talent, we're focusing on a whole lot of other things. We're focusing on not offering a hand up as opposed to a hand out. And as a nation drowning in debt, we instead are rewarding people who choose not to work. I'm not talking about people who can't work. I'm talking about people who just choose not to work. And I suppose maybe at some level you could say, well, I guess that's okay if you can afford it, but we can't afford it. So what do you do when you don't have the money to just give everybody a bunch of money? Well, you just start printing more money, right? Just crank up the presses, just print some more, it's no problem. Unless you're somebody that's working real hard to make money that you really bust your butt for, and all of a sudden that makes that money worth a whole lot less. Now, researchers have posed the question that I often ask a lot, which is, how's that working for all of you? Well, here are some answers. 61% of the people in America say they're living paycheck to paycheck. 59% say, hey, I'm one paycheck away from being homeless. 40% withdrew from their already insufficient 401k just to avoid losing their home. 19% of 65 and over are still working. That's doubled from 35 years ago. Now, a lot of people say that's just not okay. That's not a meritocracy. That is something our government and our elected leaders should be appalled, ashamed of, and fixing right now. But they're not. They just keep printing money. The more they print, the less yours is worth. Now, my first guest, Jordan, and his wife, Latisha, say despite both of them working full-time as teachers plus other jobs, they can barely afford the basic necessities to survive. Take a look.
I'm extremely frustrated with our financial situation.
My husband and I work 50 hours a week, and we're still living on the poverty borderline.
The American dream is the American nightmare. I've always thought this is a country where you do the right things, you go to school, you get the degree, you will be able to have enough to live a decent, prosperous life. Right now, it's not feeling like that.
I feel like I have been cheated.
I am living paycheck to paycheck. I went to college, I did everything I was supposed to, and yet I'm $100,000 in student loan debt. We are struggling. If I lost my job right now, we would be homeless. You need $80,000 to $100,000 a year to survive. Retirement is so far away, I can't even think about it. It's Mount Everest, and I'm at the bottom. I'm being crushed by the system. My wife wants to have another baby, but we just can't afford it. Only half of my family has health insurance right now. My income is not keeping up with inflation. We're paying $100 for the same $40 worth of groceries, and the rent went up as well. Gas price has gone up.
I'm maxed out on my credit cards for gas, for daycare, to get groceries. I pawned my laptops, I pawned my shoes just so I could pay a bill. It really has been tremendously difficult.
I don't really see a light at the end of the tunnel. If this continues, I'll be working until I'm 80.
The system is broken and rigged. I've cried many nights of not having money, but I never imagined living in times like this.
Well, thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is frustrating, right?
Yes.
Because you're both working really hard. You work an extra job, you work an extra job, and you still can't make it work.
It's a sad situation. I worked, I went to college, one of the first people in my family to do that, and I said I did what I was supposed to do. And I'm sitting here, working double, coming home every day exhausted, and then when I do the budget at the end of the week or end of the month, I'm in the red. I can't even do the things that I want to do, I love to do for my family. So it makes you feel like a failure. It makes you feel like you're not doing enough when you know you're doing all that you can do.
You feel like you're letting your family down.
Yeah.
Now, you changed jobs and took a job for $8,000 a year less.
Yeah.
Why would you do something like that?
Well, I was in the public school sector, and that public school sector is kind of broken. And I've been teaching for about 7 years, and I've seen the change in education. And I just felt like it was going nowhere. I wasn't really making an impact in students' lives anymore. And so I went to a place, a private school, where I felt like I could, but in that, I had to take a pay cut because they couldn't pay as much as the bigger public schools.
You've had your girls come to you and ask to do not extravagant things. They just wanted to do some extracurriculars at school, right? What did you tell them?
Well, oftentimes my girls do come to me and ask, Mommy, I want to do, extracurricular activities, like cheerleading. My daughter wants to do gymnastics. And when they ask those types of things, I literally have to say, I don't have the money for it at the moment. And one time, my daughter, which really, it literally breaks my heart, but I really believe it needs to be said. My 6-year-old, I was picking her up from school, and she said, Mommy, can we go to the store? And I wanted to lighten the load by telling a little joke and say, well, you got the money for it? She was like, yes, Mommy, I have a quarter. And little did she know that really broke my heart when she asked that, and her response. And I had to pull it together while driving, and of course I say the same old line, I'll get paid in 2 weeks. I'll take you to the store when I get the money. So yes, I go through that a lot with my girls. I have no other choice but to tell them that same broken line, because it's true.
Y'all feel like you're letting the kids down?
Yeah, I feel guilty, and it's just angry because they told us we were middle class. When they removed us, we were getting vouchers for our kids, and they removed the voucher and told us we make too much money. And I said, how do we make too much money? Our daughter doesn't even have health care. How do we? Yeah. We can't even afford it. So how do we make too much money? But that's what they told us. Mm-hmm. And so as a father, it makes me feel like, what else can I do? I don't know what to do.
Well, how do you feel when you see money being spent by the government on other things? They're spending money on migrants that are coming in. They're spending money on foreign causes. They're spending money on a lot of things, but it keeps costing more and more and more just to live here. All of that is because of the economy and the fact that they're just, as I said when we started, they're just printing more money.
Yes.
We have $35 trillion. I'm not getting out of my lane. This is psychological. I mean, you do what works. This ain't working.
It's the same.
Yep, because we're not seeing a dime of it. And it's honestly a slap in the face, because I am a taxpayer. I have to babysit every other weekend, and sometimes that's not enough. When a family doesn't need my assistance, I can't work.
I saw a leader on social media, and he was bragging about how they got $100 million more for the migrants. And I'm just like, I'm all for, legal migration, but I'm like...
And doing it the right way.
Yeah, we love everybody, but I'm like, we're being last, we're being crushed. The middle class are the one that are hurting. That bracket where we make too much to get help and we make enough to where we still feel the pressure of gas prices.
If y'all feel this pain, raise your hand. I'm just curious, if you look around, you're not alone here. And next, we're gonna take a real close look at this because I want you to see just how dire things really can get for hardworking Americans today. We'll be right back.
Why is everything so damn expensive? 4 years ago, my rent was $1,200 a month at a luxury apartment complex. It is now $2,100, not even including utilities. I went to the grocery store yesterday, right? And got 3 bags of chips, some ground turkey, and some vegetables. And it was $67! What?
I feel a lot of guilt that I can't get us in a better neighborhood. I feel a lot of guilt that I can't get the cars that we want to drive and the house that we want to have, and it's hard. When my kids wanted to go places or do certain things, and I have to tell them, no, we can't afford it. That's very hard on us. I feel like I'm failing them, failing myself.
We've got issues, no question about it. I've written a book entitled, We've Got Issues. We've got issues in this country, and the fact that too many parent incomes don't cover a family's basic needs speaks volumes to some of those issues. And I'm here talking to Jordan and Leticia about that fact. Now, between them, they have 4 jobs. And I want to take a look at what some of the income reality is that we're facing. 74% of Americans are stressed over finances. That's 3/4 of Americans. 70% say they need $150,000 a year to escape feeling financial stress. But yet the average salary is $59,540. People say they need $68,499 after taxes just for a family of 4 to survive with basic needs. That means there's an $8,959 deficit that most people are facing on an annual basis. And that's pretty much where you guys are, right?
Yeah. Every month we're in the red. We're living paycheck to paycheck and trying to do what we had. I had a season where she lost her job and I was had to donate plasma. I was trying to do anything to get money.
And you say you can't get sick, you just can't afford to get sick.
No, we can't get sick. We can't get sick. We can't, our kids can't afford to get sick either. So we're like, please don't get sick. If that cold, don't let it, don't let it be where we have to take them to the hospital.
That's sad that you're in America and you have to call a family meeting and say, okay, priority 1, nobody's allowed to get sick. I don't feel good. Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you do. You feel fine. You just think you're sick. You're not sick. That's tough, right?
Yeah.
And, when you take a look at what's going on, electricity, 25% increase, auto insurance up 33%, used cars up 35%, hotels up 15%, groceries. This matters, up 25%. And this is a big one. You need $11,434 additional just to maintain the same living standard that you had in 2021. Did y'all get a raise?
No.
Between now and then? But that's what's happening. And those between 40 and 49 years old, highest credit card debt ever. Balances are averaging $7,600 because people are living on their credit cards, right? They're maxing those out. Rent is up 30%. Mortgage rates doubled. It's getting worse, not better. So what do you tell yourself about what you're going to do, how you're going to go about climbing out of this? Because we're headed in the wrong direction.
For us, we have to prioritize. We have to say something. We have bills that overlaps. You know, the cell phones, they can wait. We got to pay the rent. That's first. Food has to be on the table first. So we prioritize. So you just tackle the major stuff and you get to the other stuff when you can.
You say you're frustrated that people aren't listening, the people that are in office aren't listening.
I tell people, if we ran our household like the government did, we'd be in jail.
But you can't go to jail because it costs too much. It costs $50,000 a year to put somebody in jail, and that system's broke.
Yeah.
And you've got two hard-working Americans here. You have children. You're working hard, they're good kids, you're good parents, but every time your daughter talks about her dreams, you gotta be thinking, oh, honey.
Like, not this again. My daughter came to me a couple of months ago, and she remembered before her sisters was born that we used to have mommy and daughter time. She called it Girls' Day. And the last time we had a Girls' Day, it'll be this year for 7 years. I have not been able to take my teenager to have Girls' Day. I used to take her to do that type of thing when she was like 4 or 5. But to be transparent here, before I met my husband, I used to be on Section 8. I used to receive $150 a month from the government. That was my income until I literally had the audacity to say, I'm tired of living like this. I want to get up and make something out of myself. I have a daughter, and I want to live life only to struggle a lot more in a marriage on 2 incomes. So my daughter, she came to me, she said, Mommy, I noticed we haven't had our daughter and Girls' Day. I mean, when are we going to have that? The same old line, all over again, which is true and factual and sad to me, because when she does come at me with those things, I literally feel like a complete failure. Although I know that I'm not, but to her, I used to be looked at, Mommy was a superhero. Mommy always here for me. Although she didn't know I was only getting $150 a month, I would literally take $20 just to make her happy. And now that I have gotten older, she has gotten older, only to suffer a lot more worse than what I did then, and having the motive to get up and do something with my life. I'm like, what in the world? I'm sorry.
It's hard. I know, it's hard.
I just never thought I would be living this life like this.
Next, want to see just how badly meritocracy is being destroyed by a government that is supposed to protect its people? What I discovered may shock you. You're not going to believe what I'm getting ready to show you. I promise you, you're not going to believe this.
The state of our country right now is disgusting. We're definitely angry at the government. We pay taxes for illegal immigrants, for the homeless, and for people that aren't even working. And we're people that are working and are barely surviving.
I'm angry at our leadership. The American people deserve better. We're taking care of everybody. What about us? We need help. I'm angry at the system that has failed us over and over and over again. We're being crushed.
So what about us? Where is our help? That's the question many fully employed Americans are desperately asking. Why? Because their paychecks are barely enough to keep up with the inflated cost of food, gas, and the roof over their families' heads. And when we look at what's going on, it's shocking. They talk about the fact that the big problem in America is income inequality. And my position is the big problem in this country is income equality, not inequality, and I'll tell you why. I've broken this up into the bottom 20% of income earners, the second 20% of income earners, and the next 20% of income earners. And what you're going to notice is in the bottom 20%, these people only about 33% of them work at all. And as a result, they make about $7,500 a year. On average, that's what they earn. The next 20%, 85% of them are employed full-time, and they earn about $31,000 a year, okay? Where these people earn about $7,500. But when the government gets through with the entitlement programs, look at the difference.
Wow.
$1,000 difference. So here's my question psychologically. Why would you work? Seriously, I'll bet you in terms of net purchasing power, these people have more. Why? They don't spend money on commuting. They don't spend money on wardrobe. They don't have any overhead because they don't do anything. These people, 90+% work, and they earn $66,000 on average, but because they pay actual taxes, they only net 61. So the difference between here and here is only $11,000. We're paying people not to work. Now, is it just me? Or is the system turned on its head? And these guys are not working one job. They're not working two jobs. They're not working three. They're working 4 jobs. And they're making $1,000 more than these people who aren't working at all. You know why? Because you're paying for these people to stay home.
Yep. Yep.
What the hell? Next, we're going to go the other end of the continuum. She's 75 years old and feeling hopeless and physically exhausted. Why? Because she can't afford to stop working. We're going to meet her after the break.
Hardy fiber cement siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. The retirement age in the United States, at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare, is 65. No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years. And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick.
Social Security is going to go bankrupt in 10 years. Medicare is going to go bankrupt in 5 years. We need to fix it. How do we fix it? So the first thing you do is you change the retirement age of the young people coming up. The second thing is you go and you limit the benefits for wealthy people. Many of them will tell you they don't even want it. Then you go and you look at cost of living. Cost of living should actually be tied to actual inflation. We can get that done.
Now, my next guest, Betty, is 75 years old and says standing on her feet all day to work is exhausting. But she has no other choice because if she doesn't work, she can't afford to live.
I am 75 years old and I'm still working to make ends meet. I did not think I would be in this situation after my divorce. I had to make my own way. It was scary. When I was 65, I went to a career connections class. I realized that no one really wants to hire someone that's over 60. It makes me feel hopeless. I work at a low-paying job at a bookstore, 24 hours a week. It is hard at my age to stand up for 8 hours a day. My body's just not what it used to be, and my job and Social Security is not enough money to pay for my rent and my life. Inflation has really taken its toll on my finances. And my living expenses are about $3,500 to $3,800 a month, and I only bring in $23. I don't want to continue having to work low-paying jobs, but I have to. I'm living on the edge, and if my health failed, I could be in real trouble.
Betty, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, you say it's exhausting to have to work at 75 years old.
It can be.
Because you got to stand up all day for one thing.
That's right.
And you don't get paid a whole lot of money.
That's right.
Where does it put you to work the way you do, plus Social Security?
Well, it puts me in a position where almost every month I have to spend down the savings that I have. And to make ends meet, I have to use my savings, Social Security, and the job income. And it's scary. When the savings goes down, 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 you don't know how long you're going to live. And you don't know if you're going to wear out your savings.
That's not something that you really hoped or planned for when you were living your life to this point.
No, I never thought I'd be in this position.
Do you ever take any trips?
Taking trips is kind of out of the question. It is out of the question because of the price of gas, hotel rooms, if I need to stay in a hotel, and I don't take those trips.
Y'all don't either. And she's 75.
We can't afford to.
Joining us also is Erica, a senior employment specialist at the Senior Source, which not only advocates and protects the rights of older adults, but also helps them to find employment, which is not always easy when you get up in years. Erica, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
How do you get employment for somebody that's 70, 75 years old?
So it depends on the person. You know, when I speak with somebody, the first thing we're doing is we're assessing whatever their gaps to employment are. For different people, it may be transportation. It may be just learning how to modernize their resume or just finding ways to reskill themselves. So it varies. It just depends on the client.
Over the last 7 months, you've seen a rise in working among those that are over 65, 70 years old.
Yes, I've been with the Senior Source for almost 8 years, and I think what I've noticed since the pandemic is that my clients who maybe were running into every now and then crisis situations, they're living in a constant state of crisis, whether it's, I can't afford my rent this month, do you have a job lead so that I can start working Monday? And so I think that's probably the biggest thing is that I'm noticing is that my clients are looking for work now.
You know, when we look at retirement, an American average couple says the math works out where they're talking about $2 million they have to have stacked up over the 30 or 40 years they were working in order to retire. And only 9% have more than $500,000 saved up. 50% have no retirement savings at all. 56% have a 401k, but it doesn't have enough in it. And 40% of those that do have a 401k have had to withdraw from it in order to live, in order to protect their home. Over 40% of the people that are over 50 say they just don't have any retirement savings at all because they're using every penny they have to live. And you guys, at the end of the month, you have maybe $130 left to do necessities that are other than categories, right? So not much money.
No, not at all.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, and if something comes up, you're in big trouble. So don't let the car break down.
You blow a tire, or somebody goes against the rules of don't get sick. All right, we're going to take a break. No goals, no saving, no problem. But does that popular Gen Z mantra also spell no future? Next, you're going to meet a young woman who is concerned about her own generation, and she decided to take matters into her own hands with her own value system.
I'm gonna tell y'all exactly what I did to buy my first house when I was 23 years old. First and foremost, you need to understand that this is going to be the largest purchase of your lifetime. So this is nothing to play games about. After I found a mortgage lender for myself, he told me step by step everything I needed to do in order to qualify for a mortgage. I got to work and I literally saved my money. I was disciplined. After 9 months, I finally got to start house shopping, found the perfect house, and closed within 11 months.
You just heard from Jennifer, who was just 23 years old when she bought her first home, and says she is concerned about her fellow Gen Zers. You can't use generalities about everything, but she says an awful lot of them do have a lack of goals. And boy, I'll talk about that in a minute, but that's not you. You said, I do have goals, I do want some things, and you decided that you weren't going to be part of this generation that we see described back here, quiet quitters and lazy girl jobs and do the least amount that you can possibly do. You decided you wanted to set some goals and achieve some things, and you bought a house.
Yes,
How do you do that?
So to start, I mean, my biggest motivation came from my parents, because exactly like your story and kind of what you guys are going through, my parents are in their early 60s. They're still working, not by choice, but because they have to. And so that's where my motivation came from. I was like, I see my parents every day getting up, going to work, and I told myself, I don't want to be like that. You know, I don't want to have to work when I'm 60 and you know, I want to have a choice whether I want to go to work or not. And so that's what's been motivating me. But I went to college, I graduated in 2020. And after that, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I knew I wanted to get into real estate. And so I told myself, well, let's start by purchasing my first house. And I had no idea how I was going to do that either, but I reached out to a mortgage lender. He told me exactly what I needed to do. And then I got to work. And then every single month I would save all my paychecks. And then 11 months later, I was able to close on my first house.
Yeah. Well, I'm really proud of you for doing that.
You.
And you had to say no to a lot of impulses and influences from friends, right?
My friends would ask me to go out of the country on vacations, and it was so hard to say no. But I had to, because, and I literally would tell them, my goal is to purchase a house right now. I have to get the house. Once I get the house, then we can go on vacation. Every day I would pack my lunch for work. I wouldn't go out and eat. I was saving my money. And then, on the weekends, I would do things like working out or just hanging out around the house with family, doing things that, I didn't have to spend money doing. And I told myself, sacrificing fun for a short period of time is much more rewarding than staying in the same spot in my life for months and years.
Yeah, that sounds so simple when you say it, but it's hard to do.
And I'm not going to say it's super hard. It's much harder to choose discipline than it is to just say, forget the goals. But like I said, it's worth it.
I want people to hear that because, I talked about this doom spending. A lot of your friends just say, I'm not worrying about retirement. I'm just going to live for the now.
Yeah. And I think the problem is, like, a lot of people, they don't have any goals, like you were saying. And the problem is people don't have goals because there's a lack of knowledge. People don't know that they can buy a house. People don't know that they can be an investor. People don't know what's attainable. They just tell themselves, I'll never be able to do that. For me, I go get the information. And I tell myself, even if it'll take you a year or 2 or 3 to save that money, to do what you want to do, it'll happen. That's better than never happening.
Yeah, you bet. All right, next. Many people in tonight's audience say they too are struggling and living paycheck to paycheck. We'll talk to one couple that's really experiencing this right after the break. It's just sad. There is simply no other way to describe how so many hardworking Americans aren't making enough to make ends meet. Now, Gay and her husband, Don, are in our audience and have been thrust back into the workforce in their 70s. This is evidence of the fact that our country is in peril. Thank both of you for being here.
Thank you.
What do you think's going on that's pushed both of you back into the workforce?
We love to eat.
Yeah. It's a habit, isn't it?
It's a bad habit. I've had it a long time.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're able to work. I feel blessed every day that I can get up and go to work. There are a lot of people at our age that aren't. So that is a blessing, but at the same time, when you know you have to, it makes it all the more difficult to try to enjoy part of life that we have here. Of course, I don't know that we'll ever enjoy life like we used to in America, but it could be a dream.
Do you think our government's putting us in peril?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The very fact that you have said repeatedly today, we're printing more money, that's going the wrong direction. So people at our age know if you can't afford it, you shouldn't get it. And we're at the age where we did use credit along the way, but 15 years ago, we said, it's got to change. We literally said, we got to get debt free.
Yeah.
And we're driving an older car because I don't want my adult children to have to pay my bills if something happens.
Yeah.
And like he said, we're blessed. We're in good health to be our age.
I'll be honest with you. I grew up really poor, and credit was not something that was part of our family. When you grow up poor, you're on a cash basis, right?
Yes.
And in my life, I've never had a car payment. Ever have I ever had a car payment in my life. Now, I've driven some real crummy cars in my life. The first one my sister gave me, and you could only drive at 37 miles an hour. I'm serious, because at 38, it started shaking real bad. But, 37 was better than walking.
That's true.
But I've just never had a car payment. I just didn't ever want to go into debt. And people just sometimes don't think that way, but I'd rather have something that was crummy, but I owned it, than it owned me.
Right.
And sometimes I think we need to get back to that as a country. If you can afford it, you buy it, and if you can't, you don't.
Yeah.
And Leticia, you had a question for me, and it's an important one to answer. When we first spoke with Leticia, she had a question for me. She asked, with everything around us falling apart, how do I keep a level head and not give up? That was your question.
Yes.
First off, I think words are very powerful. I really do. I think language is very powerful, and everything around you is not falling apart. You have a devoted and loving husband, and you have 4 healthy children. And I think a great philosophy in a family is to give them too much love and not enough money. And if I had to choose, I would choose the journey your children are on than some of these families where they buy them a new car when they're 16 and they do this, they do that, but they're not really involved in their lives and they're not really engaged with them. And when I hear the pain in your voice and see the hurt in your eyes when you talk about what you can't do for your daughter, I see how much you love and care for her, and that tells me that everything's not falling apart. You have some financial challenges, and I recognize that, and you don't give up. You find some ways to fight back. You have 2 cars, and you're paying 25% interest on those car loans, correct?
Yeah.
We need to work to improve that. I'm going to try and get you some help to improve that, see if we can get that down. That's a lot of interest.
Yeah.
There are some predatory lenders and things that are preying upon your family, and I think you need some help in fighting back with that, and we're going to see if we can't help you do that and free up some money in your current budget. And I think you don't ever give up. You don't ever drop your end of the rope. If you're in a tug of war, they're trying to pull you into the abyss. You don't ever surrender. You hold on to your end of the rope. You don't ever give up. You're all those children have, and they're damn lucky to have you too. Let's focus on what you've got working for you, and let's build on that. And we're going to give you some help in cleaning some of this up. And you hear her heart and what she's done. This can get done, and you guys deserve better. We're going to see if we can help you. Don't you think they deserve better? Okay. You got a friend at the factory. We're going to see if we can't help you help yourselves. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, fair enough.
Thanks.
I want you to be glad you came here. Are you glad you came here?
We're so
It was an honor to see you.
All right. I want to thank all of my guests for being here tonight. We are creating a destination network here at Merit Street Media to do just the kind of things we're talking about right here. I mean, these are the kind of things that we want to talk about on this network. We want to talk about real people facing real challenges, looking for real solutions that apply to these folks up here, all of you in the audience here in the studio, and all of you at home. This is about real people living real lives in the real America. And I love this country, but it doesn't mean we can't do things to make it better. And we're going to embrace and present the core values that I believe in and that I think you believe in. So tell everybody you know to watch Merit Street Media, and do check out my new book, We've Got Issues, How You Can Stand Strong for America's Soul and Sanity. It's available everywhere books are sold. It's already on the New York Times bestseller list, and it is going crazy. We will see you next time. Thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm Chris Gethard, and I'm very excited to tell you about Beautiful Anonymous, a podcast where I talk to random people on the phone. I tweet out a phone number, thousands of people try to call, I talk to one of them, they stay anonymous, I can't hang up, that's all the rules. I never know what's going to happen. We get serious ones. I've talked with meth dealers on their way to prison. I've talked to people who survived mass shootings. Crazy funny ones. I talked to a guy with a goose laugh, somebody who dresses up as a pirate on the weekends. I never know what's going to happen. It's a great show. Subscribe today, Beautiful Anonymous.